3, 2, 1, 0.
It's Monday, the small hand is on the 7, the big hand is on the 12. That means it's time for Monday Night Nerd. Welcome, everybody, to this. This is pretty cool. This is like my 90th, 89th something episode. Like, I can't believe I've been doing this that long. It feels like just yesterday was my first episode, and I was wondering if anybody would tune in. And now you guys are on a pretty regular basis. I appreciate you being here tonight. Tonight we are going to be talking about saving money at Comic-Con. We are getting close to the Comic-Con season, and that means we got to save some dollar bills. And the only way to do that is to plan ahead, and that is why we're here tonight. Pretty Nerdy Crystal in chat saying, no beard! No, I did shave it off Saturday. I shaved it off. Because I cosplay, 99% of my cosplays have no facial hair. It's just the way it's always been. Actually, Freakish Workshop and I were yakking last week about if there was any cosplays out there that I would do that would require a beard. And the only one we could really think of was if I was to do a bearded Reed Richards, which I was like, I'd be fine with doing that. He's like, you could do Captain America. And I'm like, do I look like Captain America? Not even close. Not even close. So I was like, maybe I'd do a Reed, but that's about it. But yeah, the beard is gone. I usually have the stubble, and yeah, it kind of works. Not too bad. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in. It means a lot to me. Tonight, we're going to talk about saving money at Comic-Con, but first, we have the news, and let's start things off with a tech update. You might, I can't tell on the stream, but you might be seeing me a little more clearly and a little bit more definition, and that is because I bought a new camera over the weekend. I picked up a new camera from Amazon. This is a 4K camera. Hopefully it's coming in a little clearer than it has before. Seems like it is. We'll see. The other tech update. We have been having some problems with the signal, and in chat, we have the person who gave me an assist to see if it was the stream or what it was. Pretty Nerdy Crystal gave me a hand this week on finding out what is up with my stream. I have talked to my internet provider, and they said, we're going to send you a new modem. We're going to get you set up with the best. And they did. And we did a live stream that was just private. No one could see it. And it was terrible. It was choppy. It was broken. It was bad. So the fix to this is going to be me calling my internet provider tomorrow and saying, based off what I've seen from your competitors, they have the worst plan, and we could be getting a lot more from another provider. However, we've had a great relationship with these guys. They've had great technical support. Overall, I just need a better signal. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they'll give it to me. And if they don't, we are going to be making another phone call this week, and it is going to a new provider, because I cannot, after 89, 90 episodes, whatever we're at, I cannot be dealing with this anymore. So we might be making a switch, but hopefully by the next week, we should have a definitive fix to this, and we won't have any more issues. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Another bit of news. If you saw my post this week, we are adding a 14th con to the tour this year. Yes, I was going to 13 conventions, and now the cat is out of the bag. I am going to be a guest at Toronto Game Expo. I am super excited about this con. I saw nothing but great things from everybody last year about this con, and I thought, what the heck? I'm going to try. I'm going to put my name in the hat and see if it gets chosen, and it did, and I'm kind of jaw-dropped, shocked by this Mr. two-time guest. Yes, I am. It is pretty cool. And you might have noticed that the Geeks & Co. will be hosting the convention. So the Geeks & Co. will be there, and Freakish Workshop will be there, and it is going to be a fun weekend. I'm so excited to hang out with them for a weekend and be a guest. There may be something else, maybe, something else that's going to be announced. I'm not going to say what, but maybe you should watch and stay tuned and follow Toronto Game Expo, because maybe there might be another announcement. I don't know. We'll see. I've only done it 3 times at places. You're going to outdo me. I'm sorry, Crystal. You may say that I'm outdoing you, but I want to remind you, you were a guest at Fan Expo. I have never been a guest at an Informacon, so you still got one up on me. But yeah, I will be there end of March, and it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. And hopefully the new cosplay that I'm working on will be ready, and I will be debuting it there. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, that's how cameras work. Those 2 things right there. That is a hint. Those are 2 3D pieces, 3D printed pieces that I've done. The rest are in the other room. That is a spoiler of what those 2 totally weird shape that you cannot tell what they are. Those are part of the cosplay. Hopefully I can get it done for the end of March, so I have something new to bring and show the world, because I'm super excited about it. Let's jump into the next thing that we're going to talk about. Is I am a big Resident Evil fan, and I have now played a whole bunch of Resident Evil. If you've been watching the show for the past little while, you know any game I'm pretty much been talking about here has either been Power Washer Simulator or Resident Evil, and I'm continuing that now because I just started Resident Evil 4, the remake for PS5. I grew up with number 2. And it was funny, I never really thought about this until this weekend when I had some friends over. I have Resident Evil 2 on N64 because I had an N64 when that came out. I have the cartridge. I have the box, the original box that I've threw out almost every single box when I was a kid. For some reason, I kept that one. I also have the strategy guide. So when my friend Edith saw it, she's like, "Yeah, that is your favorite." I'm like, "Yeah, I never realized how much that is my favorite of all the Resident Evil games." But yeah. So this is my first time playing 4, and if you are not a fan of Resident Evil, I'm going to try to kind of explain the turn that this game makes in the franchise. The first 3 are very much puzzle solving, surviving against the zombie apocalypse. Ammo and everything can be very hard to find, so you have to be very resourceful. You have an inventory that can only hold a certain amount of things, so there's a lot of understanding, like what can I keep for later and planning and all that. I love that. It's so fun. The 4th one sort of leans a little more into more of an action game, and if you know anything about the next 2 games, Resident Evil 5 and 6, they really push that action style and not as much of the strategic planning game that 1, 2, and 3 are known for. This is a nice balance between the 2. Personally, I wish it was more like the original 3, but I'm not hating it like I wasn't a big fan of 5 and 6. So far it's so fun. I'm only about an hour and a half into it. It's been really just getting to understand the world. That's kind of the way Resident Evil is. There's a lot of backtracking in the game, so it's kind of seeing something and reminding myself, okay, that's there. I can't do anything with it now. As soon as I get this, I can come back and do that. So it's a lot of mental kind of remembering where everything is. But I'm enjoying it. Again, it's not exactly the game I wanted, but it's still fun, and I will keep you up to date on what my thoughts are when I go through it. Now, this next thing, I need to take a big drink of water. This weekend, I had some time to myself, and I watched a movie that I have had so many people talk about. So many people sitting me down and saying, "Mike, you are a horror fan. You need to watch this movie. This movie has gained awards. This has got such a good reputation. You need to sit down and watch this." And I had it on my radar, but I got some time this weekend, and I said, I'm going to sit down and finally watch The Substance. Now, if you've not heard of The Substance, it stars Demi Moore, and basically the plot of the movie is she is a famed fitness model for many, many years. She is in the, I don't want to say the twilight of her career. She's older. She's not 20. She's probably 40, if not 50. And the industry that has created her is saying they want someone new. She is no longer the big hit that she was. She finds out about this thing called the substance, which is a chemical. When you inject yourself with the chemical, a second, younger, better version of you forms, and you have to spend 7 days as the younger self, and you need to spend 7 days as the older self. There's no screwing around with that. It has to be 50-50. Enjoy yourself as a young person, but then you also have to enjoy yourself as an older person. Now, when I say I loved the idea of this movie and the way it is done, I'm not kidding. This is so fun. I love horror movies with rules. It is probably, it's not a genre of horror movie, but I love the idea of if you just follow the rules, you will make it out alive. Friday the 13th, don't do drugs, don't have premarital sex, you will survive the night. You do that, the guy with the hockey mask is taking you out. Saw, you be a good person, Jigsaw's not going to kidnap you and make you understand how much and how important life is. Simple, easy to understand, follow the rules, you'll survive. With this movie, if you spend 7 days as the younger person and you switch to 7 days as the older person, you will be perfectly fine. Don't mess with it. Sure enough, Demi Moore's character messes with it. The conscience of her enjoying the younger self ends up kind of trying to take more time. And the consequences is when she takes more time as a younger self, her older self deteriorates. And deteriorates very fastly and very gross, let's say. This movie is filled with body horror. And if you don't know what body horror is, it is basically the human body morphing in ways it shouldn't. It is, this practical effects in this are incredible. The plot is incredible. Being inside her mind and trying to realize, it's the organization that says that gives her the substance says you are one person. You're not two different people. Your conscience is in both. You have you know what is what, but you realize that her conscience begins to break and she starts to enjoy the younger self more than the older self. It is such a good movie until the ending, which is the biggest slap in the face I've seen to an audience in years. I have never been, I don't think I've ever been as disappointed with an ending than this movie. It is one of the most insulting endings that I've ever seen. There is a moment in this movie where the younger self has basically drained the older self so much that it is incapable of working. And so what happens is, because she can't get any more substance from the older version, she basically double dips on the substance and tries to make a second version of the younger self, which, when that happens, the new version of the younger self is a grotesque monster, and she's just like an abomination, it looks like. This is when it falls apart, and that is, throughout the entire movie, you can tell the world around her is a little off. Like, it's a little, everyone acts a little cartoony, and that's perfectly fine. It's the world. I don't mind going with that. When that second version kicks in, everyone becomes an idiot, and it just destroys the entire world. Everybody treats this grotesque monster like everything is good. And I know I'm spoiling it, and I'm sorry, but it is frustrating. Because it honestly feels like they wrote this movie up until that point and then did not know how to end it, and simply took aspects of other great horror movies, put them together, and threw it out the window. They took parts of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum and put it in. They took parts of Toxic Avenger and put that in. They took parts of Dead Alive / Evil Dead and put them in. And it just ruined the ending. The ending, there are points in the movie where the younger self and the older self have dreams, and they're kind of weird. So when this was going on, I'm like, oh, it's got to be a dream sequence. It's not. It's the way the movie ends. And I could not believe how insulted I was at the end of this. That I honestly felt like I wasted my time watching the probably 2 hours beforehand. I recommend going to see this if you're a horror fan. But I'm telling you, when you hit that moment that I told you when she makes a second version, cut the movie, do not watch the end of it, and just make up your own. Because whatever you make is 10 times better than what was shown. I was so insulted by it. I should not be this upset about a movie, but the fact that everyone was telling me how great this movie is, it was so bad. And if that's your thing and it doesn't bother you, enjoy the movie. 100%. But personally, I cannot recommend that ending. It's just insulting. Man, does it bug me. It honestly took the movie from like a 9 to a 4, if not lower, because it just felt like they could not figure out to make a proper ending. Insulting. Absolutely insulting. Anyways, so that was my movie for the weekend, and I'm kind of frustrated by it. One last little bit of news, and then we'll make sure to hop into the main event. Folks, if you're still here, please hit that like button, subscribe, all those things. It means a lot to me. We've had a couple new people hop on the channel, and that means a ton. We are getting closer to 1,000. We are 630 away from 1,000 people, but every one of it means every single one of you subscribing and liking and all that means a lot. It really does, because I know you guys can be doing 1,000 different things on your Monday night, but the fact that you are sitting here probably doing something else and just having this on in the background to make me happy, I thank you for that alone. One last thing, and I really want to show this off because it means a lot to me. In all my I shouldn't say all my friend groups, a lot of my friend groups growing up, I was the creative one. And I'm not saying other people weren't creative, but I was the artist in the classroom when I was a kid. I was, I'm the cosplayer in my group right now, even the volunteer group. Like, there's no one else that cosplays, so I'm the cosplay guy. There aren't many people that I hang out with that are really creative, and that's nothing against. It's the way it's worked out. I know a lot of you cosplay now. That's great. I love having creative people in my life. It makes me feel creative. I had a friend who came over the weekend, my friend Edith and her husband. They spent the night. They went with my wife to a Toronto Rock game. They had a great time. I've not seen them since Christmas. And I was not expecting gifts or anything, but she brought over something that she made for me. And I always say, anytime I go to a convention, I don't want to buy prints. I love independent artists. I love Artist Alley. Everyone's got incredible prints. I don't have wall space for prints. Like right now, I have nothing really behind me. I've got 1, 2, 3 things that are here. I've got 2 from Mr. Dave Thorne. He was on the podcast once. 2 of his original art pieces here, which I love. A bunch of lyrics from Metallica that are from my wedding, and a board here that has my cosplay goals where I write out what I'm building. I don't have space, and my rest of my house is kind of filled with art. However, she did this for me, and I need to find a place for this because this is freaking amazing. This is the little bead art. I don't want the glare to hit it. Of me as Luigi. And I was blown away that she made this. Like, I almost dropped it. I was so shocked. This is so cool. Like, to think that someone had the wherewithal to be like, I'm going to make a picture out of these things, but I'm going to make it for a friend of mine of him in a cosplay. And this is like from one of my first photo shoots ever as Luigi. Like, I'm honestly stunned at how cool this is, and I need to find a place for it that is perfect and special for it, because this is one of the coolest art pieces I've ever gotten from somebody. So thank you, Edith, for this. This means so much to me. It is so cool to have this. Especially because it's and a little bit special because her husband brought over a Super Nintendo game that he had been dying to play. So we were downstairs playing Super NES, which is basically 16-bit, kind of like that look. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I wanted to give her a moment on the podcast to be like, to show off that art, because that's so cool. I would never have thought of doing that, which makes it even cooler. Like I love when people do artsy things and just come up with ideas that I've never even thought of. So thank you so much for that. That is such a cool piece. Folks, we're going to jump into the main event. Again, as I said, if you're still here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It means so much to me. Sponsor, as always, my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife. She will always be my sponsor. I would not be here without her. I would not be, she puts up with so much of my crap. I'm going to 14 cons this year. So she is putting up with so much with me, and I love her for it. It means so, so much to me. Hun, you will always be my sponsor. I absolutely love ya. All right. It's time for the main event, folks. This is the first podcast of February, which means we are getting into Comic-Con season. Cons are announcing their dates, guests are being announced, and we are getting ready to go to all of the cons for 2025. But how do we do it properly without blowing a giant budget every single time? Because it is really easy to do that at almost any convention, whether you're your first time going there or you've been there a decade. You can easily blow hundreds and thousands of dollars at a convention. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about a couple ways that you can save money. I've gone through the old Chat GPT and pulled up what they say are the top ways to save money. And I've added a couple, and I'm going to give you some examples of ways that I've personally saved money at these cons, because I've been doing this for over 15 years. Last year was my 15th anniversary of Fan Expo 2009. So we're going to talk about that. But to start things off, earlier in the day, I posted a story and asked people what their ways are to save when they go to Comic-Con. I'm going to read a couple of them. We're going to go. A bunch of these are on the list, but I want you guys to know what some people were talking about. So we've got bring snacks. That's a good one. I bring a limited amount of cash so I can't overspend. That's a good one. I like that one. Someone said people save money at Comic-Con. I don't think they save money. It's more that they don't spend as much as they could. Get hotel early before prices go up. It's another good tip. Sneaking in snacks. I can't eat that food anyways. 100%. If you have dietary issues, Comic-Con can be a bit of a pain in the butt, so we're going to talk about that. Not going. That is the ultimate way to save a couple bucks, is just not go. But if you want to go, these are some ways we could save. Leave the credit card at home. Another one that is very good to do. Have a budget before walking through those doors. Yes, 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 and yes. Yes. Lark Bark. I would love to go to Comic-Con. You've never been to one. You can go, there's one every weekend, it seems like. And I'm not just talking about up here, because I'm pretty sure you're down in the California area. There's conventions almost all year, man. If you want to go to Comic-Con, go to Comic-Con. Go enjoy yourself. They're amazing. They're so fun to go to, especially with you being a Lantern fan. So much fun. So let's start with the big one, and we kind of got a little hint of that with these answers. Budget. You need to budget. Determine how much you can afford to spend before the con and stick with it. Create a detailed budget for everything from travel to merchandise. Man, you have no idea how important that one is. It is the key to the entire rest of the list, is to plan how much you have and are willing to spend. Now, are you going to be able to plan down to the last penny? Probably not. That's just the way it comes with the world and the way that Comic-Cons work. But if you have a good idea, you will be able to save yourself so much heartbreak when you get home. The adrenaline wears off and that credit card goes at the we need to remember that we can't think about like, oh, I'm just going to spend more money. I'm going to spend more money. I'm going to spend more. We can't do that because, man, it's not worth it. It really isn't. It might feel great at the time. You might be like, man, I need that thing, or man, I need to meet that person. Man, it's not worth it at the end if you come home and you're missing bills or you can't afford normal things to get through the everyday life. Man, life can get hard sometimes. Do not put yourself into debt over Comic-Con. Please. I don't know how else to say it. The only time I would say pull out the credit card or spend a little more than you may have thought. And again, you should have planned this, but if the actor or actress you are wanting to meet, if they are of an elderly age, and this may be your last opportunity, if you've loved that celebrity all your life and you want to meet that person and they are getting to that age, you should probably do it. Mr. Sweeney from Boy Meets World. I could tell last time he was at Niagara Falls Comic Con. Anybody that came up and asked, should I get... Go. If you loved that show growing up, go meet him. Because I don't know how many years he's got left. And I'm not saying it's not like he's going to keep doing Comic Cons right up until the end. He might cut it early and live the rest of his life in peace. So if he hits that certain age, you should probably go. I did that with Stan Lee. I loved Stan Lee growing up, but I knew that last time he was at Fan Expo, I needed to get his autograph because I knew it would probably be the last time I got to meet him. And I'm so glad I did because it was the last time I ever got to see him. So if they are of a certain age, I would give you a little bit of leeway. But again, don't do it irrationally. Think about what you're taking money from before you go spend it on something else. Lark Bark, Sean Cannon from Karate Kid 3, the soap opera, is going to be at Comic-Con. There you go. If that's the one you're looking for and that's the one you want to go meet, then I say you budget for it and do your best to go. Number 2, shared or off-site accommodations. Consider sharing a hotel room with friends to split the cost. Alternatively, look into hostels or Airbnbs for budget-friendly options. I would avoid hostels if you can. I've seen the movie. Even Airbnb, it really depends. I used to love Airbnb. When I first started going to Fan Expo, we got a hotel probably 30-minute walk from the con. And then when the girlfriends came with us, we ended up getting closer and closer. When it was my wife and I going together for the first couple times, we ended up getting an Airbnb because that's when Airbnb really started to boom. And we got places that were literally across the street for cheaper than a hotel. And the benefit of an Airbnb is you're basically staying in an apartment, which means you have a kitchen, you have places, it's not just a hotel room, you have perks. However, since the pandemic, since the year 2020, Airbnb has changed a lot and not for the best, sadly. The price of renting an Airbnb now has gone through the roof. It is now cheaper to stay at a hotel, and that is even a hotel that is connected to most cons. And they're usually booked so early in advance that you don't get a chance when you get close, which is something we're going to talk about later. So Airbnb, I would definitely have multiple tabs open up on your screen of here's the hotels, what's their prices, here's the Airbnbs and what their prices are, because some may look good, but when you compare them to what you could get for a hotel room, it might be a little better to stay at a hotel room. Plus, at an Airbnb, I've stayed at some good Airbnbs. I've stayed at some bad Airbnbs. There are Airbnbs that have been great. They've, had great places to sleep, great place. They leave they don't have to do this, but they leave a little bit of chocolates and stuff, which is great. I appreciate it so much. There have been ones that I've stayed with that have not left coffee, and I'm not saying they'd have to, but you'd kind of expect it if you go to a hotel rooms, they leave you a little bit of coffee to make in the morning. I've gone to places where there's been absolutely no food and absolutely nothing. Like, you had to bring everything with you, and I'm like, at least the hotel would have given me that. Elevators have been problems, and if you stay in somewhere like Toronto and you stay at a really high floor in a condo, trying to get an elevator to come down is a giant pain in the butt. That is the story of my Gambit cosplay. The first time I wore it, I had everything hot glued, and I was standing there waiting for an elevator in the condo, and the condo was just an oven. And while I'm waiting for my elevator, I feel straps and pieces popping because the glue is melting because it's so warm. So make sure to do your due diligence before you go to an Airbnb. It did come up here on the chat GPT, but from my own personal experience, it's hit and miss. When it comes to sharing, if you can, do it, because man, that's going to cut your costs in half, in threes, in quarters. Like, it makes things so much easier. I love having a hotel room to myself. I am that person. I am not a giant fan of staying with other people. Not against other people. That's just me. I love coming back to a hotel at the end of a con and it just being me. I can relax. I can just throw my shit on the floor and just kick back. However, I also want to save half the budget to put towards cosplay and other stuff. So if you can share, it is great as long as you're with people that you can deal with. Crystal, we always have 3. We always try to have 3, but I have to sleep alone because I snore. I do too, and I'm even worse because I snore, but I hate people who snore, and I can't sleep because I'm such a light sleeper, and I get frustrated when I hear people snoring, and it keeps me up. I'm that jerk. So yeah, but especially going back to something like Fan Expo, I think last year for the Intercontinental, and that's literally attached to the con, for 3 nights, 4 days, it was $1,000 that I dropped. And I saved that all year long. That was all Christmas, all everything was going into an account to pay for that hotel room. And when I got there, I loved the hotel, but then I was like, man, if I only had one other person and I could deal with that one other person, I would have to only save half. So as of last year, I think was my last year doing it solo. I think we have to do multiple people in the room, and I've come to terms with that. And going to have coffee was perfect, and going back to have coffee was perfect. Yes. So that's if you can share and you can get offsite accommodations, that is the best thing you can do. The further you can get away from the venue, you're going to have a cheaper price. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the next one, which is public transportation. Opt in for public transportation instead of taxis or rental cars to save on transportation costs. That is a big deal that I don't think a lot of people think about. And actually, I didn't think about it until someone talked to me about it a couple years ago. I have a specific place where I park in Toronto for the con, and I just leave my car there for the weekend. I don't go to the car. I don't need to go to the car. It's not usually where I'm staying. And then I will just drop all my stuff off at where I'm staying first and then park it and then walk away and not see it again until the end of the weekend. I get people aren't all comfortable with that. I know I'm fine because of where the location is. I'm not going to tell you guys where the location is because it's a secret. But if you can take public transportation, sometimes if you count how far the hotel is and you go, okay, it's an inconvenience that the hotel is that far away from the Comic-Con, But if I take that cost and I say, okay, in the morning I'm gonna order a taxi or take a bus, and I only have to go a certain distance, how much is that plus the hotel? You're probably still saving money. I had a friend who told me 2 years ago where they were staying and that they ordered an Uber every day to drop them off and pick them up. They still saved money than if they stayed attached to the convention of Fan Expo. So it may be a little bit of math and you may have to budget that out properly, but it's worked for some. I'm not that person. Again, I'm that person that I want to be right next to the con. I want to be as close as I can because it is just a pain in the ass for me in the morning to get up. This will honestly, Toronto Game Expo will be one of the only cons I've ever gone to and guested or gone to that I'm going to drive in from my house on both mornings, where I'm going to finish the con, hang out for a bit with a few people, drive home, crash, and then drive back in the morning. I'm not a big fan of doing that, but just because this is a last minute edition, I really don't have the funds to get a hotel, so we're going to do it this way. And that's perfectly fine. Part of the gig. I will survive, but it's just, I usually try to be attached to the hotel because I love to sleep in. I love to get as much rest as I can because if I don't get the rest that I need, I am a bear in the morning. So do what you can, see what way it works for you best and which way you can figure this out. If you can stay further away, save yourself a few bucks. If you can handle coming in, whether it's a couple blocks, whether it's a little further. I know people who go to Toronto Comic-Con and Fan Expo who will stay at the airport because the rates are cheaper. I don't want to do that drive every day, but I know some people do and they love it. So, to each his own. One that was mentioned many, many times in here, pack your own snacks. Bring your own snacks and drinks to avoid overpriced food drinks at the convention. This point has an asterisk. Bring snacks, not food. There's a difference. Do not bring a hamburger in. You want to bring a granola bar, you want to bring an energy drink, you want to bring some chocolate or something. That's one thing. You can usually get away with that at a con, even a big one like Fan Expo, because we all kind of realize that you got stuff to do and, you just need a little pick-me-up. You don't want to spend $15 on a slice of pizza. But I've seen people want to bring like a bloody picnic basket and have a picnic at Comic-Con. Don't do that. That is overkill. They will probably not let you into Comic-Con if you do that. I have my own secret ways, which I've said on the podcast. I will say it again. Luigi is the perfect cosplay where you can bring your own snacks because Luigi has the big vacuum on the back. And I will tell this story again because it makes me laugh. I walked up to the main doors of Fan Expo in my Luigi cosplay with the vacuum, and they said, you need to take that vacuum to weapons check. And I went, what weapon do you think it is? And they said, well, it's a big prop. We have to check it. And I said, oh shit, because in the vacuum, it is made of a real vacuum. You can pop the top off, and I just took out all the insides and the guts, so it's a big open space. I put chips, I put a pop, I put granola bar. I had this thing full, and I'm like, I'm busted. They walk up, they literally look at it and go, it's good, and I walk in. So happy. And I'm just sitting there in the middle of the floor, popped it open, having some chips, I think I brought some pretzels and stuff. Oh, it was perfect. And no one thought anything of it. So there are ways of making that work. You just have to be a little thoughtful of where you can put things. But yeah, like I said, be thoughtful of what you're bringing in. Don't bring giant things. It's there are limits to it. Crystal says in chat, if a hotel has a cooler fridge that keeps things cold, bring breakfast and lunches. Yes, 100%. And folks, here is a tip. Here is an important tip. If you are going to Comic-Con and you want a fridge, some hotels have them, some don't. If you want, when you book your hotel, A good suggestion is to say that you need medication that needs to stay refrigerated. They will probably put you in a hotel room with a fridge, an empty fridge that doesn't have all the stuff in it. And if you pull one thing, it's going to cost you $20. That is a tip. I've seen it work. I've done it myself. Just say that you need medication and you need it to stay refrigerated. They will probably put a fridge in your room. Take that one. You can use that one next. You can use that one this year. But yeah, if you do have a fridge, keeping breakfast and lunches in there, best thing you could do. Save yourself a whole lot of money. And that's another thing. If you are next to the convention or you're very close to the convention, you can simply go back to your hotel room for 5 minutes, have some breakfast, have some lunch, have some snacks, and go right back to the con. Save yourself from paying con prices because, man, can they get pricey. Next one, prioritize your purchases. This is a big one, and this is something you need to think about. I need to take a drink. I learned this a long time ago when I was working at Toys R Us. I used to collect everything. I wanted everything. However, after working at Toys R Us for like 4 years, I learned that when I went to work, I saw all the things I wanted. So it was kind of like a home away from home. I didn't have to pay $50-$60 and bring it home. Be comfortable with the idea of something just existing. Just existing. Because I'm at the age, and I'm pretty sure most of the people watching this are at the age now, we're not getting together with our friends and playing with our action figures. We're not kids anymore, which is fine. You can still act like kids and all that, but you have to think about what the thing that you're doing or the thing that you're buying, where's it going? What are you doing with it? Is it a video game? Okay, then a video game you're going to play, you're going to enjoy, it's going to spend hours, and that's different. But, like, for example, I'm a giant wrestling fan. And I'm going to stretch. And I've always wanted a Scott Hall and a Kevin Nash wrestling figure. These are two wrestlers that I wanted growing up. And I never was able to find them. And then one day I found a Scott Hall, and one day I found a Kevin Nash. And I was so happy to get them. And you know what I do with them now? They sit up there on a shelf. And to be honest, they're collecting dust. Now, do I like having them? Yes. But if I didn't own them and I was just happy they existed, I would be okay with that. I've come to terms that I don't need to have every single thing I've ever wanted within arm's reach. It just ends up collecting dust, and the next thing you buy is going to give you that dopamine boost, and you're going to forget about the last thing you got. And it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse to the point where you're going to have everything, but you're still not going to feel satisfied. So just be happy that some things exist. Now, like I said, there are things out there that I see at Comic-Con that I knew I wanted. There are things that I see there that I'm like, ooh, I've got a Green Lantern up there, and it's the full size. It lights up. That was a purchase. I saw that, and I'm like, that is not going anywhere besides with me to the car. And that was one of those weird purchases where I'm like, nope, that's happening. But there are many, many others that I said no. I will see it again at the next con. I will see it online. I will see it somewhere else. I don't need to have it around me all the time. So really think about your purchases, and if it can wait, or if you can find it somewhere else cheaper, or if you really deep down don't need it at all, think about your purchases before you make them. Don't make them impulsive. This one is big for people with that's important to them. Cosplaying. Folks, there is a big debate out there, and I've got a video on my social media where people say that if you don't make every single piece of your cosplay, you're not a real cosplayer. Well, I'm here to tell you, they are full of it. You can thrift your cosplay. It's perfectly fine. No one really cares. Thrift your cosplays if you can, folks. Folks, we don't care if you made your cosplay. We don't care if you thrifted your cosplay. We don't care if the cosplay was a hand-me-down. Just cosplay. And especially in today's world, where the price of everything is through the roof. If you can save a couple bucks, save yourself a couple bucks, or figure out a way to make it a little cheaper for yourself. Folks, I have where is it? I've got a belt here. I needed a black leather belt for Ghost Rider. Now, I could search high and low for this black leather belt. However, I had a brown leather belt. And what I did was I had some of this material left over from when I did my shoulder spikes and my wrist gauntlets. So I simply coated the belt, covered it with the fabric, and made my own. And you know what? It cost me less than what it would have cost me to get a brand new black leather belt. And you know who's going to notice at Fan Expo that it's not an actual black leather belt? No one. No one cares. So if you have the opportunity to thrift it and save yourself some money, do it. No one cares. Everyone just wants you to cosplay. Like, it's so laughable to think that you have to build every single piece. Nobody really has the money to do that unless you're getting a sponsorship or someone is funding you from another thing. Like, it's so hard to do it now. Just cosplay and don't put yourself in a bad financial situation to get there. Early bird ticketing. Folks, if you know you want to go to a con, if you know, like, I'm going to Fan Expo every year, I'm going to Niagara Falls every year, I'm going to Toronto Comic Con every year, buy your tickets as early as possible. Budget your money to get the tickets early, because most of them have early bird deals, or they have a tiered system where the first window is going to be a cheaper price, then it's going to be a little more expensive and a little more expensive. Do what you can to save on those tickets. Personally, I know that any money that's coming in from Christmas to me is going straight into an account, and it is sitting there, and it is going to pay for cosplay, it's going to pay for tickets, it's going to pay for hotels. Because I know throughout the year, I'm going to be needing that money at some point. So there's no point in me going, I just got $100 for this, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go buy a $100 game, when I know I'm going to need that $100 later. So if you can get tickets early, if you can get these things early and out of the way, do it, because you're probably going to save some money. This one's really fun because, folks, I'm the prime example of it. Volunteer! You want to get in a Comic-Con and save yourself some money, like not having to buy a ticket? Volunteer! All you got to do is show up those 3 days or 2 days or whatever that you were going to show up anyway, and volunteer. I volunteer all day. You don't have to volunteer all day. Usually the shift is about 6 hours, if that. It might be less. It might be 4. And you only have to do a certain amount, and then you can go enjoy the con. That's a perk of 95% of volunteer positions. The biggest perk is you don't have to pay to get in. So go do a little bit of a shift. You might be doing cool stuff. You might be working celebrity lines like I am. And you know what? You might be working celebrity lines, and then they may put you on the line for the celebrity you're wanting to meet. And then You may meet them, and maybe they'll give you a free autograph, and then you don't have to pay for an autograph too. There's things that come with with those positions that you may get things from that. I'm not saying you will, but why not take a chance, and you'll still save money by not having to buy admission tickets. So almost any convention that you go to or you want to go to probably has a volunteering positions for all over the con. Check the websites and you could probably find some place where you can volunteer at a convention. There's usually tons of positions available. And we're always looking for cool people because, hey, when I say this from the bottom of my heart, when I started volunteering, I did not think I would make lifetime friends and friends that I know if I called them. You know that line? You know that line of, is there someone in your life that you can call in the middle of the night and they won't ask any questions? They'll just say, where am I supposed to meet you? With my volunteer friends, I've probably got about 6 of those because of that. That's how good friendships I have with them. And that is pretty darn cool to think that I always love the idea of the butterfly effect. Or maybe not, I don't know if it's a butterfly effect, but like when you come to a moment and you don't realize, like, if I don't take this turn, my life is in a completely different direction. And just thinking like I took that turn and I volunteered that first time, I've done and met so many incredible people just on that one thing that, by the way, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I was terrified to do. I had the biggest panic attack going down the mountain, the escarpment in Hamilton to the convention, thinking no one's going to like me. No one's going to talk to me. I'm going to be so alone and I'm going to be so scared. And because I fought through that anxiety, I now have lifelong friends who would probably take a bullet for me. That's a pretty cool thing to think about. And that's all because I chose to volunteer one day at a Comic-Con. So when I say you should all try it once, you should try it once because, man, there are things that may change your life for such a better way. So let's start from the beginning. We got one more, but I want to go through these ones quickly. So we got budgeting is key. That's very important. Shared or off-site accommodations. Public transportation. Pack your own snacks. Prioritize your purchases. Thrift your cosplays. Early bird tickets when you can. And if at very least, try to volunteer at least once so you can get the experience. This last one I'm going to put as a 1B, as in like this kind of counts, but I don't know. Digital merchandise. Now, I know in the world, in the world of physical media, I have a whole bunch of graphic novels here. I've got a whole bunch of comics down there. I got a whole bunch of disc games downstairs. I am not the biggest fan of digital. I do have a lot of digital. I have a lot of digital magazines. I got a whole bunch of digital games, but I love physical. There are people out there that love and don't mind the digital side of the world. My wife, for example, reads a ton of books. She has so many digital books, and that's her way. She loves reading digital. She loves reading physical books, but the ease and the access to them is so much easier digitally. This is something that you may want to consider if it works for you, especially in the world of comics, because you can get subscriptions to Marvel Unlimited, and DC has their own, and there's a couple that kind of mix them all together. You can get all of your comics from there. You can get digital art pieces. There are people out there that will do digital art for you that you could just commission them. Actually my wife has a friend who has gotten a couple digital art pieces of characters from, I think, books and different books that he's read that are just digital paintings of the characters that he loves in different books. And yeah, just the digital side of it. It is there. Again, I use this one as because I do understand how important physical media is, and I am one who loves physical media, but there are some things when it comes to digital that I don't mind. For example, I have the physical copies of all the God of War games because I love that series. I have all the digital versions of the Lego games. One means a little more to me than the other, but it all depends on the individual person. That's why I don't want to say this one's a set in stone. You should do it. This is it's up in the air. It depends on the person. So, in conclusion, budget is the most important, folks. There are many ways that probably I've forgotten on here, and you guys can comment on the video of what you think should be on this list, but just budget, man, because I've had a couple cons when I first started where I bought way more than I needed to, and it was great in the moment, and I loved picking those things up, and I loved having them in my collection, and within 2 months, didn't care. And there were some where I didn't get early bird tickets, and I was kicking myself that I was paying more. And overall, there are ways to save money. So you should do your best to save money, because in today's world, with everything that's going on, do your best to save a couple bucks, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And it's better to be safe than sorry. It's much better to have, you know what? I'll leave you with this. This is a great way that my wife and I determine if something is worth it. I'm not saying I used to be a big spender, but I used to be very frivolous with my money. I saved, but I could have done more with it. And my wife came up with this I will give her the complete credit on this one. She came up with a great idea, and I use it every single day now, and I think you guys should do this too. You can take it and use it in your own life. When you are holding something, or when you're looking to purchase something, you have two options. And this is where you'll determine the importance of what you want. Take yourself out of the situation. I am a spiritual being, and I come to you and I say, I can give you one of two things. I can give you the item you want, or the cash of what the cost of that item is. Which one would you rather have? Would you rather have the physical item, or would you rather have the money? Because the physical item is going to take this one away, and not having this one will keep the money. Which one's the most important to you? Another one that my wife uses, and it's a great one, is when you're thinking of holding something. You're holding something and you're sitting there going, I don't know. If it's an I don't know, it's probably a no. You're just looking for a way to convince yourself to say yes. Because if it was a yes, you would have said it at the beginning and you wouldn't be thinking about it. There are things out there, like the Green Lantern, and I went, that's the one. No one's going to tell me otherwise. And I knew that was the right purchase. But there are many things out there that I've held in my hand and I went, nope, I don't know. And if I don't know, then it's a no. Those are the way that my wife and I work, and it's worked really well with us so far. So those two things. Think about the cash value or the item, and if it's a maybe, it's probably a no. Folks, I greatly appreciate you being here. I can't believe we're in 90 episodes. We're at 90 already. Crap, we're going to be at 100 soon. I'm going to be at episode 100. Next week, it is Family Day. And as usual, I will usually on holidays, on Mondays, I don't do the podcast because I know how busy you guys are. I completely get it. It's Family Day. You should be out enjoying your families. However, Family Day is the exception. And that is because next week is the 2-year anniversary of the podcast. We are on episode 91, and we've been doing this for 2 years next Monday. So I will be here. I really won't have anything planned. I think we're just going to chit-chat. We probably will not go the full hour, but I do want to hop on because it is the 2-year anniversary, and I want to talk, just see how you guys are. Maybe we'll talk a little about the podcast. Hopefully I'll have internet running by that point. We'll have a great signal. Maybe we'll have some people jump on. Who knows? We'll see who's on. Maybe we'll have a couple people jump on the podcast and we'll just yak for a few minutes. We'll just have guests jump on every now and then. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, next week will be the 2-year anniversary. And the fact that I've been doing this for 2 years is kind of insane. And the fact that a bunch of you are spending your Monday nights with me is insane, because I think you could be doing something a lot better, but that's just me. Thank you, folks. I greatly appreciate you spending your Monday night with me. I hope you have a great week. I have got a really busy week ahead of me. I've got a Toronto Scepters game tomorrow night. Thursday, I will be at the cinema with my buddy Sean, and we will be seeing Captain America Brave New World. And I think that's kind of it. And then, yeah. So I've got a busy week. I've got other stuff, but I don't want to talk about it. But anyways, have yourselves a good night, folks. We will see you all hopefully next week. And if I don't, have a safe week. Have a happy week. Hopefully the weather cooperates for the next little while and doesn't pelt us with more snow. I think we've had enough. Take care, folks. I love you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Talk to you soon. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.